All right, welcome to Mazecast episode 4084. We're going to be talking about rooms 38 and 40 tonight. We're following quick on the heels of our room 37 episode. I think it's getting exciting with only about a third of the rooms left to go, and a lot of them we have pretty decent information on. We're trying to take a run at these things. So we're going to start with room 38 and then move to room 40, and then maybe say something about the two rooms together. These are two rooms that are contiguous, and they're both in the trap, and there are a few things that are sort of interrelated between the two of them. Let's take a look at room 38 first. The primary, or maybe the most obvious puzzle thing in room 38 is the carnival poster, as it's referred to in the text, of the ape of some sort, whether that's a gorilla or a chimp, I don't know. And it says C, and then has an arrow pointing at the ape's face. And this is something that was solved long, long time ago, back on the John Bailey site. So it's something that just about everybody who's into maze stuff knows the solution to. And for that reason, it gets overlooked or seen as being as one of the easier puzzles, I think. But I think it's actually a pretty interesting and difficult one. What you do is the word C becomes the letter C, and the arrow pointing at the nose becomes the phrase ape nose. And with the letter C and the letters in ape nose, you can rearrange those to get the word no escape, which makes this one of many warnings in the trap that you've entered a place from which you cannot escape. No escape. This seems to sum up pretty well what's going on in this room and with the trap in general. And it seems so straightforward and easy and clear, just like the story, fable, tale, yarn solution in one seems nice and easy after you figured it out. But this is actually, I think, I could see not figuring this out for a long time. It's not immediately clear that you're supposed to think of that as an ape. It's not immediately clear the arrow's pointing at the nose as opposed to other parts of it, or just the face in general, or an ape in general. I think this is a good puzzle. It's the kind of puzzle that maybe tends to cast more doubt on the more speculative things elsewhere in the book, because this one has such an obviously correct answer to it, you know? Like, I was thinking about it earlier tonight, and a lot of the puzzles or the solutions that we've come up with in Maze, if we actually talked to Christopher Manson and if he said, yeah, that's absolutely right, that's what I was thinking, I think even we would be surprised at a lot of them, you know?
And Greg has joined us.
Oh, we've got Greg.
Hi, Greg.
Are you on the air right now?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna sing to start, but I'm not feeling very well, so I don't think I want to talk about maze. But can I just sing
at the end?
Can I just sing to you the maze and all your winding passages? You're amazing to me. How there can be so many things in this maze.
That was great.
Yeah, I'm glad he stopped by. Okay.
So, as you were saying,
Yeah, I was kind of blathering on. It's probably a good thing that Greg interrupted. No, the point I'm trying to get at is just a lot of other solutions we come up with. I think even we would be surprised if Manson said, yeah, I thought of that. Like when you step back and think about, okay, what did he actually intend? We kind of go off the rails a bit. And this is one puzzle solution that seems so obviously solid, correct, intended. Like, even if you met Christopher Manson and he said, no, that's not what I meant by that sign at all. It's just a bunch of whatever he says. I think you would just say, you're a liar. You're lying, Christopher Manson. I don't believe it. That's obvious that that's what you meant by it, you know? That's how...
There's only a few puzzles in the maze that I would say that about, and this is one of them, definitely.
Yeah, I think this, Seabag, okay, the first room... I don't know. There's not a whole lot besides that. I mean, there are a lot of things besides that where you can say, okay, I know something's going on here, but there are like 3 different interpretations that we offer of it of how you get to the answer, and it's easy to
I think we've
imagine.
done surprisingly well with the words in the maze, like playing those rebus puzzles with even in room 34 with the jive pine compass thing. Maybe to a lesser extent with in room 23 with the o'clock thing. Although I give that some credibility for sure. But that being said, for anybody watching, check out our other episodes. We're pretty accurate when it comes to the things. Hey, here again, room 22, women's jewelry, the red herring.
Yeah, her ring. I'd be surprised if he said that. No, I didn't mean that to mean herring. Her ring. I might.
Hey, you're lying. You must be lying.
Yeah, you're obviously lying.
You're obviously lying.
Anyways, so this is, I think, one of those standout puzzles for that reason. But on the other hand, it gets overlooked for that reason because we got the answer, over a decade ago, and so we kind of treat it as solved and move past it. So it doesn't have the air of mystery that all the other rooms, or most of the other rooms and puzzles have about them. But there's still a lot more going on in the room, so there's still plenty about the room to be puzzled about. We've got these half-finished carvings, as they're described, in the doorway to 40 over here. I don't know that I've heard a really good explanation from anyone or suggestion about what's going on there, if anything is going on. They sort of remind me of, well, I mean, to me it looks like 2 human figures on the left and right, and for some reason, even though it's only the barest form of anything on the left, I think it looks like a man and a woman down there. And then some kind of a face up above in like this triangle arrangement here. I mean, I don't know. What do you see in this? Do you see anything in those half-finished carvings?
I don't know. It reminds me of Prometheus, making people out of clay, sort of, even though it's wrong.
That's interesting. I mean, we've got the statues.
I mean, that's a stretch, but that's all I got. I got nothing on this. I would probably relate it if I were to be looking for clues in that. I would try to maybe find something relating in the text. I mean, he does mention pebbles, and he does give the carvings, a few sentences. He gives it some attention there. So, and just looking at the other trap rooms where there's fair bit of interplay between the text and the images. So yeah, but I've never really this wasn't one of the better rooms. I mean, it's not even one of the good rooms in the trap. Like, you got what is the one with the stop sign couch in it?
22.
Yeah, like you got those and the one with the sly face, and like those are a little more interesting than this one. That's just opinion though. Like I think mainly just because it's really all about the sign. Like, I wish I could tell you something about the carvings, but I think even if we come up with something, it might be weak.
Well, and I disagree about this being not one of the good rooms, although I think the rooms in the maze start having more of a plot aspect to them than a puzzle aspect to them. I think certainly by the time you're getting to 6, and, well, obviously...
I take it back. It's just sour grapes. Maybe it's just because we haven't figured out what it is yet, and once we figure it out, yeah, it's great. That's great. But sorry for jumping ahead here, but I definitely think that the shoe relates to 42 because there's a boot that looks very similar to it, and I hate to take it off track. We can get back to that later if you want, but I definitely think that boot is related to the other boot in 42.
Well, yeah, let me finish saying just a few things about the carvings, because I didn't have that much to say, but then we'll move on to the boot.
Yeah.
The carvings are potentially a little similar to what's going on in room 23, where presumably there were 2 statues there at some point, although as we talked about... I'm sorry, I said 23, I mean 32, I'm sorry. Room 32, where you've got the missing statue, but you've got what looked like there were a setup. There should be 2 statues on either side of a door, and then above the door there's the demon holding a shield. Although here, to me, does it look to you like a face that's over the 40, or does it just look like nothing in particular?
Oh no, it's definitely a face
Okay.
with two circles next to it.
I don't know what the triangle thing is going down over it, and yeah, I don't know what the circles are. It vaguely reminds me of the tarot card, either the devil. I mean, I probably should have had an image ready to go for that, but people can look it up. There's a card called the devil that has a devil face up near the top of it, and then two, um, I guess, imps, but they're shaped like mainly like men and women, but just like with horns or something down below.
Well,
And then another,
it sounds like you're describing 43 almost, and that's what it reminds me of most. Is it looks like it's a unfinished version of 43 with the two guys on either side of the sly face.
it is interesting. It is similar to that too. 43 doesn't have like the same proportions or anything, but it's got the two people, and that's a maybe. I wonder if I can zoom down.
If you look at it, it's a repetitive motif in the maze. They got it in. They have faces over doors. You got four, room 4. You got room 7 to some extent, not really, but it's sort of faces watching you. 8, you've got the smiling foolish face on top of the unmarked door. There's a theme here, definitely in the maze, with heads over or close to door numbers. You know what I mean? Like 6, you've got the jester head close to 36. You got the face in 18. The fireplace.
Yeah.
Head. And they're all sort of watching you, all of them.
All
To some
right.
extent, I would even say 22. There's a head in the middle. 25, you got heads over things.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go through the whole book, but I think there's definitely something to go. 6, you got a guy over 6. That's about it, really. I mean, that's a pretty long list, though.
Yeah. There's another tarot card called the Lovers, which is very similar in layout, but it's got two just humans, not anything impish about them, and then like an angel up above them. But here the carving's too indistinct to really tell what's going on up there at the top. And again, maybe it doesn't mean anything. Maybe it's just some unfinished carving, and maybe that's just supposed to suggest that this is a early unfinished part of the maze that we're coming to, something like that. Or as it says when you get to 40, you're down to the bottoms, the foundation of the maze. So I don't know. I don't have too much to make of those. There is a lot of crumbling stone going around there, which, as you say, may relate to the pebbles and shoes thing. But speaking of which, let's go to the boot, which you note may be the leftover boot from room 42, where we've got 5 boots. We've got 2 pairs of boots and then just one leftover boot by itself. The problem I've got with that, although I really want it to be true, is just that the boots are not similar in make.
They're not the same. Graphically, they're different. The one in 42, it's got what looks like a lip over where you put your foot in, and in 38, it looks like a little bit of a taller boot without a lip. It looks more like a workman's boot.
And the one in 42 doesn't have laces or anything. These are like winter boots, it looks like, in 42. The kind that
They're all pretty abstractly drawn. Yeah, they're either like Uggs or fisherman's Wellingtons or something, and then you got the other one which is more like a workman's. I don't know. I don't want to get too hung up on style because there's a few things he draws differently. You could get into the whole thing again with one and how the bottle is drawn differently on the wall.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking of. It does make it, at least it should make us cautious about saying, oh, these objects are not really related because there are these graphical differences between them when clearly it's still a boot. There's a missing boot there, there's a boot here.
Well, let's assume that it's not the other pair until we come up with something reasonable to support.
Well, that's true. I mean, it doesn't even do anything for us to say that this is...
like we're sort of jumping to it without having any connection.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am at least, but yeah.
Now, there's a statement in the text about emptying the pebbles from their shoes, and I think the immediate thought you have is it has to do with the pebbles here around the doorway to 40, I don't know that really tells you anything about where to go or anything, but that you think of it as being a reference to all the rocks here. But if you look at the bottom of the slide, there are definitely some pebbles down here at the bottom of the slide too. You see what's going on there?
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say though, I was gonna even follow through with the pebbles in your shoes and say, applying to this boot, that would be impossible because the boot has a open sole, so the pebbles would fall out the bottom.
Um, a suggestion that I've made, which maybe I shouldn't even share. Maybe I shouldn't even share it. A
Oh,
thought
sure,
like that I
sure.
don't like. It's the okay. So they make the reference in the text to emptying the pebbles out of their shoes. The picture then has a boot in it, the single boot, and
And
so
rocks as opposed to pebbles.
yeah, close to. Well, that's the thing. The pebbles here that are by the bottom of the boot are circular in shape. There are sort of like little O's here, and I said, well, if you remove the O's from the word boot, and you're left with B and T, which alphanumerically code to 2 and 20, then that could be a sign to go to 22. But I think that's a really bad solution.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it almost makes more sense to me from the end of the create. Like I could see creating a puzzle based on those ideas more than I like the way that it actually ends up. With most puzzles with bad solutions, it's the opposite. Like it looks kind of good to you until you stop and think, would somebody have really made it this way intentionally? And you think, no, that's stupid. They'd never do that. I kind of have the opposite feeling about this one, where I could see someone constructing a puzzle that way, but then the end result is just kind of lackluster and this, So I don't know, but I definitely think there's something not arbitrary
I think
about
it's a good thought, definitely because he drew the pebbles specifically at the bottom of the slide. I don't see them anywhere else.
hmm and well, and they're right by the boot too. So there's more going on than just telling a story there when he's talking about emptying the pebbles out of their shoes. But who knows?
I think so.
The sole is being torn off the bottom of the shoe. You want to try to do some kind of a pun with soul or something, but I don't really have anything for that. What's anything else do you want to say before we go to the text?
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about the key. We might have forgotten it because we always talk about it amongst each other, but not on the channel. So I'll talk about it a little bit. So for those who know, if you've been following this podcast this long, then you'll probably know that we mapped out the maze in 3 sectors: the path, the loop, and the trap. So
we should say credit for those names goes to White Raven. We're using White Raven's terminology anytime we're talking about those sections.
yeah, I mean, I would argue that the path is a true term used by Manson. But anyway, that's another story. The other two, not so much. But the trap, if you map it out, it's sort of shaped like an abstract key. And Vince and I were talking earlier on today about how the actual shape of this key in 38 is sort of reminiscent to the shapes of the rooms. And yeah, I don't know. Take it away, Vince.
Okay, so what you're seeing are you seeing the image from the Abyss right now?
Yep.
Okay, so, and this is the map and solution to that White Raven and I both came up with. Well, I shouldn't say like that. This is his map. White Raven made some very nice looking maps of the 3 different sections. And this is the map he made of the trap, which shows that it can be laid out like a 2-pronged key, which is what you see over the door from 41 in 38. And so we both suggested independently, although he first came up with it, that this broken key here, and well, it's somehow assigned to stay away from the other side of the key, because right now we're on the handle part of it, and the broken key itself is sort of you can take it as a metaphor for entrapment. If you're you're locked in someplace and the key is broken, you can't get out. And that seems, I mean, laying the trap out like this has a lot of intuitive appeal. You know, it seems not accidental. It seems that, you know, you certainly have a loop with these 3 rooms here. You've certainly got these 2 prongs that are going to be hanging out here. It seems like that was done to make this thing look like a key. However, you know, even though I was one of the champions of that, I've had some doubts about it because this key over the doorway here in 41 just doesn't really match the picture of a key that you draw when you map it out. The main problem is what you've got here is like a straight shaft, and then you've got these 2 circular connections coming off to the side. It's really not the same as this circle shape here at the bottom of the key where these 3 rooms are connected to each other. And it just seemed like that's a weird difference for Manson to put on that key if the point of the key is to show you the map of the trap. Like, why not just have the key look like the map that you would draw of the trap?
Well, I disagree. I think if you pull up your map, I don't know if you have it handy. You drew the triangle for the 3 rooms and the handle part of the key. I don't think. I think it's all in the other side of the key where 24 is, and the other sort of fork, what have you. And I think that's really what makes the shape of the key, what defines it. Because even if you didn't have the interplay in the handle, you would still have the fork part of the key. I think that's the integral part that everybody picked up on, you and White Raven, I guess. And
yeah, the fork part certainly fits. That's not where I'm taking issue. It's with the handle part. If the purpose of that key was to be a map of the trap, it just seems strange to me he would have drawn the handle the way that it's drawn there. And I'll tell you, well, let me pull up then this image that this stuff that I put together today. I don't know how clearly this is coming through. It might not really be big enough, but blowing it up is not going to make it any clearer. So what I've thought about today maybe is 38 is it's like a long room with 2 doors on either side of it. And so I thought maybe this handle here, this is room 38 here. And so you've got the 2 doors on the left side, 2 doors on the right side. Now, there's this like circular thing connecting them.
wait, let me stop you for a sec. It's still showing the room 38. I don't know if you're.
Oh, it's not. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, pull up whatever you were talking about. It's not appearing. Maybe you have your browser. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, let me.
Like, I know what you're talking about. I just want to.
Okay, can you see it now?
There you go. Yeah, got it.
All right, let me start over here. Okay, so what I'm saying is that this thin shaft here, the handle of the key, this is room 38. Because that's sort of what 38 shaped like. It's like a long, thin room. And then these circular things on the side are, you know, there's a door here, and a door here, and a door here, and a door here. Now, on this, so this side would be rooms 22 and 43, which do in fact just kind of circle around and connect to each other. It's not so easy over here because you've got, this is 41 and this comes from 26. They don't connect directly to each other. They do both connect to 1, but nevertheless they do. They do connect to each other. And then right here at the this would be the crumbling door, the unfinished carving at the end of 38 right here, and this marks the break between the 2 halves of the key. Now we haven't looked at room 40 yet in this episode, but when you look at when we look at room 40, you'll see it kind of juts down from the doorway to 38 at an angle, So I'm saying this whole thing here is room 40, and then this is the doorway to 6, and this is the doorway to 11, which actually puts 24, somewhere out here past 11, 11. Everyone's impressed by my drawing ability with the mouse there.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you went any further with a 38, you'd be drawing a dick. Oh no, I was gonna say, but of all the maps, whether it be yours or White Ravens, this is the one that sort of is most like we have a handle on the shape of what it looks like, and I think the rooms are most accurately like where the doors are in the right direction.
Yeah, looking at it this way actually fits the image on the door to the shape of the rooms instead of just sort of a series of nodes that we can draw in connecting and showing how they connect to each other,
I mean, at the same time, Manson did say himself. Well, I don't know. White Raven said that he didn't. He wasn't doing this using maps. Although he could have been lying.
Yeah, Thale Kreider would probably accuse him of lying for anything he said that Manson said. I don't think Manson said that he didn't have maps or anything like that. I think what he said was something to the effect of the intended way to read it is not to go through mapping everything out, or something like that. That he didn't. Something to that effect. Although I don't know how. I think by the time someone reaches the level of familiarity with Maze that we are and are talking about it in the detail that we are, it would be absurd not to have things mapped out. It just makes things so much easier as a reference. But I think this is consistent with that, though, with the idea that this is not about making sort of abstract maps of the thing, because this fits essentially right with the shape of the rooms. Let me go. Tell me whether this follows. Now, are you still looking at that?
Still the key.
Still the key? Okay. Let me go back here. I'll stop the screen share and then restart it. All right, here we go. So let's go down now. Well, we're going to have to go back up to 38 in a minute to go through the text. So we'll come down to room 40. And so you've got the door to 38 here, and then you've got this, the room kind of comes down here at an angle from there, and then you've got these two doorways. Interesting, the brickwork here and even the entryways here I think are very similar to the bricks and the entryways in room 38. Kind of suggesting that they're, I don't know, of a kind. These two rooms are matched together, and indeed I think these rooms are more closely related than most rooms are, and this room has a connection to room 6 as well, of course. I had another thought that I don't know whether it adds much to it, but I've kind of thought about this opening here that's off to the side as maybe looking like a keyhole a little bit. And so it's kind of like this broken key is broken off inside of a keyhole, which would further the metaphor of entrapment, But
yeah.
I don't know how seriously you want to take that, or it's certainly not necessary to take it that seriously to see the broken key as a metaphor for entrapment.
Well, not just that, but also the fact that in 30 there is a doorway at the bottom of that chasm.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us have talked about that too much, where it could lead, or if there's something it could possibly attach to. 29.
Well, it comes from 29.
Okay.
That's
And corrected.
Yeah, no mystery there, unless it's a hidden mystery. So let's go back and go through the text here real quick on this one. Actually, I'll leave the image up and I'll read through the text in the book. Just a minute. Okay. So we've got a narrow space. Let me stop right there, because this goes in exactly with what I was just talking about, with the idea that room 38 is that narrow shaft on the handle of the key. He Manson tends to describe rooms as being tall or large or narrow or something like that, when they really don't look any different from all the other rooms, or most of the other rooms that are here. I don't know that this room really looks particularly narrow. So the fact that he describes it as narrow, I think, is interesting. I think that's supportive of the 38 is the handle interpretation, where one wall boasted half-finished carvings and another some sort of carnival poster. I think that description where he calls it some sort of carnival poster is, I think it's brilliantly misleading, you know, because he's got this puzzle that depends on having the word "C" there and pointing to the ape nose, and without any explanation, I think it's a lot easier to say, well, this is obviously some kind of word game going on. It looks like a rebus, whatever. By describing it as a carnival poster, he's making it seem less like that and more like it's advertising some kind of an attraction about, seeing an ape or something. I don't know that it really works.
It's because he's using some kind of wordplay with the word car, which he uses twice. He says carvings and carnival. I haven't been able to find a third one in the text, but maybe that's using it for another purpose other than description or misleading description.
No, I never noticed that. Carnival. That's interesting.
That's the only reason I bring it up, is because it is, like you said, it's a weird word for it, but it shares similarity with other word in the text. I can't see why though. I can't break that one. I can't break that clue. Sure, there's something to it though.
They mentioned the half-finished carvings, but as we mentioned before, don't really know what to do about that. There was a little confusion as we made our entrance, but we soon sorted ourselves out. What's interesting about that line is it really only seems to make sense if you came here from 41, if you came down the slide, That seems to be what that's referring to. Everyone came down the slide and landed on the floor, and they had to rearrange themselves, which is interesting. I can't think of another room in the maze that has text in it like that kind of presupposes coming through one particular entrance when you could have come through 5 different entrances. Well, maybe what that means. What was that?
Maybe 29.
Whoa.
Maybe. I mean, nah, you're right. If they're coming down the slide and they're all falling all over the place.
Right, but if you come here from anywhere else,
then
there's no particular reasons why they would be confused and have to sort themselves out. It was impossible to climb up the slippery slide, and another door wouldn't open for us. I think those lines are not too puzzly, but I think that they're an acknowledgement that the the reader, is going to be figuring out that they don't want to be here and they're looking for a way out, and there just isn't one. Because after you've landed in 24 once, you're going to know that's bad. So then you're looking around the trap here, and you're looking at 6, 11, 40, 38, 22, 43, and you're just going to be going around. And so I think this is just an acknowledgement. Yep, you're screwed. You can't get out. Because it's obvious, if the door's unmarked, you can't go through it. And I guess he probably wants to provide some explanation for why they don't just crawl up the slide, because I think people who are stuck here, their natural inclination is to complain, well, just go up the slide! Kind of like in 6, where half the people look at it like, just climb the ladder! Why can't you climb the ladder? It just has one broken rung!
That's what I would do. You guys all stay down there, and I'm climbing the ladder back to 1 or 0.
Well, it's dangerous, because that one rung is broken. What if another one breaks?
What, you want life insurance?
So after emptying the pebbles from our shoes, we marched on to, and that's what we got. Marched uses the word marched. Marched is used a few different times in the book. Although the only one I can think of right now that uses march beside this is Room 2.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I think it's used one other place, but I could be wrong. And anyway, I can't remember where it is, so it doesn't matter. But it's kind of an odd choice of words. Why are they marching? Maybe it's just a word. He just, he has to use a certain number of words to indicate that they're traveling from one room to another. Still, it sticks out. I don't know if that's maybe like an army boot. Doesn't seem particularly like an army boot. I don't know. I got nothing else. I got nothing else out of that text. Do you?
No, let's move on to 40.
All right, let's move down to room 40. Okay, now 40 is a room that I think has even less going on puzzle-wise than 38 did, although I think it does an effective job of setting a tone for where we've come at this point in the maze and kind of for what the trap is and what that says about the guide too. So I still like these rooms. I think that's good stuff. I think that's part of what keeps this book interesting after 30 years or whatever is just the atmosphere of it. I guess really only two puzzles I have to talk about here. Number one, and this is another old one, goes back to the John Bailey days. You got all these symbols over here on the wall to the side. Hidden amongst them are actual letters. We've got a T, an R, an A, and a P. So we've got the word trap in there, an indication that this is a trap. Only other thing I know of in here that is suggestive of anything is that the sign from 6 has these nails or screws or whatever in it that kind of form an arrow pointing towards 38. And the sign for 38 is written in the same font as the sign for 40 was inside 6. So it does seem like there's a path coming from 6 to here to room 38, for whatever that's worth, for whatever good that does you. Not much. Other than that, I don't know of any other puzzly type stuff that's in here.
Yeah, I mean, there thematically, 40, 38, and 6 are all underground rooms. That's definitely a theme going on there in terms of being lower is worse, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
In 11, you're in a cage, so that's equally as bad. Really, the only two rooms that you feel good in the trap are 22 and 43. Yeah, like they're more sort of parlor rooms, and everywhere else is basically the depths of the earth. So that's not a solve or a puzzle or anything, but it's a theme.
Right.
Going, I think speaks to the fact that you're at the bottom of the barrel, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though, given that it's interesting that the picture does have stairs going down further, and the door that comes from 29 is even lower.
22.
Oh, no. Maybe I've got the. Let me take a look. Maybe I've got the.
Yeah, 22 goes to 43.
No. I mean, in 40, the room, the door at the bottom of the crevasse.
Oh, that goes to 29.
Yeah, well, that's what I said.
What did I say? 22.
That 22.
Sorry, I got all this stuff written at the bottom here. Well. 29.
Anyway, my point is just it's weird that that's lower than this stuff here, when part of the point here seems to be that we're reaching the lowest point.
Yeah.
And actually, we've got stairs coming down from 6 too. Even in 6, there's a suggestion of how far down we are in the maze. And then you're coming downstairs, you're going even lower into the maze. which is suggestive again that things are getting worse for you down here.
You're going to end up in 24, I think, is what that's suggestive of.
Yeah.
Go any-
Attempts have been made to read other things out of other symbols on the wall there. I don't think anything convincing has been achieved with that, and I would guess that they don't really mean anything. I think they're kind of like the symbols on the paper in room 1, where their purpose is to just blind you to the actual symbols that are there.
Yeah. Some people came up with some stuff about, I can't remember off the top of my head, but the 2 arrows that are next to the A that are going in the 2 different directions, but nobody come up with anything for that. And there's a figure that looks like a stick man, sort of. But we can talk about this all day, man. The same way we can talk about the glyphs in room 1. The only one that strikes me is it sort of looks like a 53, the one that looks like a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
So it sort of looks like 53, but of course we know there's no room 53 in the maze. And if you look at it upside down, 35, it's even less numberish. Like, it looks even more abstract, so I don't even want to read it that way.
Yeah, you gotta wait for Maze 2 to come out before we can go to room 53 and find out what that's about.
As far as the others, yeah, I haven't heard anything significantly compelling. I mean, if you play by the rules, then you're stuck in the trap. If you don't want to climb the ladder in 6, then you're pretty much screwed.
You can't climb the ladder in 6. It has a broken rung.
Okay, we'll agree to disagree.
Well, let's go to the text here.
Okay.
The foundation of the maze. Again, emphasizing here that we've reached the lowest point. Deep underground stones had been carved and fitted. Passages opened in the natural rock. I don't think that this is clue stuff. I don't know if that really tells us anything noteworthy about the maze, that it's built right into the natural rock underneath it. I don't know. But that's an interesting tone. These symbols are quite unusual, said one. They seem to be primitive signs. Do you know what signs? I asked him. Oh, you know, wind and water, hills and planets. It was surprising that he could identify any of the symbols, but I was relieved that he couldn't read them correctly. I think all that's just about... I think it's pretty much... there's not even a hidden message to that. I think it's pretty clear that they're showing an interest in the signs. There's something in the signs, but they're wrong with what they're saying, and the guide's glad about it because he doesn't want them to find the hidden message, which to us just means, hey, there's a hidden message in those signs.
Yeah.
And then there's an interesting line. Choosing more or less at random, they went through a passageway to... I don't know why you'd be choosing more or less at random. I guess. I mean,
it's just more hints that it's that you're in the trap. Like, no matter what you pick randomly, all those 3 rooms are fairly safe. None of them are 24 yet. So.
I mean, that makes sense. Right? Except then I don't know why there's the arrow from the sign from 6 to 38, and why the 38 is written in the same carved-looking font as the 40 and 6. Like, it seems that he is establishing a path here that takes you to 38, but then the text is suggesting that there really isn't any clue, which could just be suggesting that the clues don't matter, that whatever you're seeing in there is pointless, which is essentially true. On the other hand, if you came from 38, which, there is sort of a path in that regard too. If you go from like 41, from 41 to 38, and then from there eventually come here to 40. You may already know that 38's a dead end because 22 and 43 lead to each other, and so you're left with 6 and 11. And it is just pretty much choosing at random which way you want to go. I mean, this could be kind of like how the line in 38. Some of them only make sense if you came down the slide. It may be that this line about choosing at random really only makes sense if you came out of 38. Although I guess if you came out of 11, you might be choosing at random too, because you wouldn't have seen the font in 6 necessarily to suggest the path to 38. Who knows? I don't know. Anything else you've got to say about that?
No, I mean, got more pebbles there. 6 is the only one that goes upwards. No, nothing really. I mean, shit, man. Like once you're in the trap,
Yeah.
I think there's a limited amount of clues. He didn't really he didn't expend too much energy on these rooms in terms of.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, but I think they're the main puzzles that are going on here are just the ones that are letting you know that you're trapped.
And the guide, I think, to some extent in 6, and maybe here, or.
Yeah, there's got to be some guide clue going on in 6. We just haven't picked up on it yet. Okay. Well, I think that's it. I think that's it for 38 and 40.
Well, let's actually pick the next room live here so that people can get excited about the next episode.
It's a great idea. You want to pick the next one?
Yeah, well, we've done 32. I really wanted to do 32 again.
Say anything you want about room 32.
Oh, no, I already did that last time. And we didn't go viral, so... I don't know, we're running out of rooms. You know what? You want to do the big 4 or 5?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's what we were going to do. We were going to talk about the riddle of the riddle of the maze, which we did get a couple requests from some people who watched the show. So we're finally going to honor the request, and we're going to do that next show. We're going to talk a bit about 45 and the riddle, which Manson, I believe he wrote some extra clues on this room, which sort of put it over the top when the Bailey site was around, and that got some people talking, and there's some great solutions there. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that, and about it, guys.
All right, so we'll see you next time. We'll be doing the riddle of the maze. So this will be the big one. This is where we explode because that's all everyone wants to know is the answer to the riddle of the maze. See you next time.